All right, guys. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to hopefully a very stimulating discussion on voice tech in the world post-COVID. We have a scintillating bunch of guys today. So let me first start off by introducing. My name is Upendra. I run a platform called Idea Earth. I'm essentially from a banking and financial services background. I've done a lot of stuff on digital and loyalty and things like that. So introducing my other panelists, I'm going to start with the rock star, Niraj. So Niraj Ruparel is a national head mobile and emerging tech with GroupM. He has vast experience in a bunch of stuff in mobile marketing, voice marketing, rural, rich media innovations. He's been instrumental in driving the voice practice for WPP in India and enabling agencies and clients to build informational skills on voice. So Neeraj, a warm welcome.
Thank you so much.
The next we have Akshay Gaonkar from Jio. Akshay has over 20 years product marketing career across industries like digital, telecom, FMCG, and durables. So extremely rich and a very wide set of categories and consumers he's worked with. He's primarily a marketing leader and inspired by creation and innovation. He's more recently known as the brain behind JioInteract video call bot. A patent has also been filed for it. It's a first in the world, so something you should all be very proud about. And Akshay is going to elevate this conversation and push the boundaries and also talking about how video can start kicking in our engagement. So Akshay, a warm welcome.
Thanks, Agrahyah, for having us.
All right. So Swami is a co-founder and CEO at winimay.ai. He is alumnus from MIT. He's a tech entrepreneur and investor. He runs Winimy, a multi-award-winning conversational AI company. So Swami, looking to a lot of exciting stuff from all your international work which you've done. Welcome on board.
Thank you, and looking forward to the discussion.
Okay, and Naveen Kalur is a business head with Agrahyah Technologies. Naveen heads the voice business at Agrahyah. He has over 12 years experience in sales and business development in India, US, and the UK. He's got experience in helping software companies to establish a market in India. So I met Naveen a couple of times, hugely passionate about voice and vernacular. That's clearly a next big wave. Vernacular is a dimension that we hope to cover upon a little later in the conversation today. So guys, looking forward to a rocking interaction and conversation today. Now, just to get things started off, um, so, uh, so I think we all know what COVID has done. There have been lots of conversations and content about COVID. So what we were hoping to do today as a team is roll up our sleeves and get straight into it. So COVID is possibly a perfect storm. It's impacted so many industries and consumers like many of us hadn't imagined. But the benefit is it has also shifted ahead some innovations and thoughts and priorities. So it's kind of acting like that coal in the engine in that catalyst. One area clearly is customer service. So methods by which consumers are able to interact with brands and brands are able to solve for consumers. So if I were to ask you guys on customer service, A, very quickly, what's been the impact? And B, what have been some of the kick-ass things that you've been seeing happening out there? And I'm going to request Swami to open in on this and asking him what's been the dialogues, what's been the feedback that he's been getting from brands, and some of the cool stuff that you think is emerging and will emerge in the next few weeks. Swami, over to you.
Yeah, and I'll keep it to contextually now rather than what's coming in the next decade, because we are looking at what's happening currently. But the challenge that we are in, whether we call it the crisis or hence the internal employee engagement or the external customer engagement, revolves around emotion and empathy, because a lot of this is we are in stress, how do we handle? So with customer service, hence we've looked at, again, a similar role for voice, whether it's a voice interaction that's deployed through telephony, voice assistants, or your web or app environment, where integrating voice as a channel allows you to capture the customer's natural voice, not just with the words, but also the tonality and the emotion in it. So as a brand, you can think of the next wave of artificial intelligence powering your understanding of the customer conversation. How can you understand the words as well as the emotion and then respond to it? And that's something that we are working with large brands on.
So Swami, let me understand. So voice tech has been around, bots have been around for quite some time. What is the level of advancement in doing empathetic conversations? Or should we still look at voice just to do the basic stuff? How are you pitching it and how do you set the expectations right?
So the way we are pitching it is whether it's empathetic or a basic conversation, be very selective in choosing a single channel. So whether that's telephony or whether it's voice assistant or whether it's your app, choose a single channel and choose 1 to 2 use cases or interactions. So you're not, trying to boil the ocean as you try to come into the space. The second is if you draw the curve of technology adoption or the technology maturity, voice for the last year was in hype, not meeting the realistic expectation. And this year, I think we'll see a lot of brands where they'll fix their expectation to what is feasible and build around that. And so the expectation to reality will be a more of a match than what was before.
So if I were to summarize, one is you're saying it has evolved a little bit, but that is still a fair distance to go. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I would still say that the technology is early stage bleeding edge.
Okay. And Swami, for some of the categories that you work with, if you can just share me one example of a category that you have worked with, or if you can share the name of the brand as well, and how they've effectively done something, possibly in the last couple of on understanding how brands are able to implement stuff in environments like these.
So we've leveraged, so just 2 very pointed examples. One is working with the Financial Service Institute. We've deployed voice, not in a voice assist manner, but more as a voice recorder and voice capture to capture the tone and sentiment of customers and employees. So, now you don't have employees walking into the office, sitting over coffee and quote unquote talking, if I can say, bitching about a certain experience they had, right? So a lot of the frustration around a brand or a experience is now pent up and held within the 4 walls of your house. So we are deploying some very cool hacks and plugins of voice within the bank's application and app for users to just actually share a voice message back to the brand on a very pointed interaction. So that's one. And the second we are doing is with a consumer electronics brand where they are launching an upcoming device, a phone, and we are looking at how we can leverage the existing plethora of Google Assistants and Alexas to do the next wave of promotion around the product launch and capture customer insight and customer engagement through the voice medium, given that you can't do a lot of physical mall and other retail raras now.
So Swami, before I move to Niraj, so would it be fair to say that this won't need a ton of tech resources to kind of start implementing the basic stuff?
Yeah, the basic stuff is already democratized thanks to like many of the big players, including the Googles and Amazons of the world. So it really requires more design thinking and design and customer use case understanding rather than pure tech to deliver something of value today for a brand and monetize it.
Got it. Okay, so Niraj, you of course work with, and you will possibly wear an agency hat because you interact with multiple brands. You of course have a more solution tech edge mindset. So A is, how have the conversations changed over the last couple of weeks? And what do you think are some of the exciting things which you will see in the context of voice in the coming few months?
So voice as a tech is something GroupM has been working on for almost more than a decade now. But all our conversations was pretty much focused on IVRS and reaching out to rural audiences in a big way. And as part of that initiative, we have actually developed a full stack solution to address the rural markets. We've got a micro planning tool which kind of segments India at a 750 million lens, allows you to segment audiences or markets where mobile is giving you a higher incremental than television and allows you to seamlessly land communication. Now, as part of this product, we also introduced another platform called Adaptive Data Light Technology. And one of our most successful campaign was for Unilever Lifebuoy, which we deployed last year, which won almost like all possible global awards, wherein we used to get a data infestation trigger coming in from various talukas and villages through government hospitals dashboarding of the data. And then we used to prioritize those markets and seed in voice communication because having seen the rural audiences, the insight is very clear that anything which goes in voice and in their own language vernacular clicks well with them. And basis that campaign, we saw a lot of people getting benefited from that solution. So right now, when we talk about COVID, we're extending COVID infestation alert to various pockets in the rural markets again. Now, if you see voice as a medium, government right now is deploying one of the largest full-scale deployment, which is called pre-call. Before a call gets connected, the voice messaging of Corona, which flashes in there, right? And there are other ad units which we are deploying, which is around what do you call reward tunes of Airtel, something like that. So if you're calling me, the coloring back tone converts into a brand communication. So mostly brands which are in the space of health and hygiene are peaking up right now, spending big on platforms like ADL, which is Adaptive Data Light platform, which is seamlessly integrated with our micro planning tool. So we get data infestation triggers coming in from third party, and we seed blend in brand communication and start seeding those communication various pockets of rural where voice is the only medium which people are living on, because these are bunch of 35-40 crore or feature phone audiences who are predominantly living on voice, as I call it. So that's a space which is booming in a big way. On the urban front, we are innovating in a big way on the audio platform. So we partnered with this company called Instamatic. You guys must be aware about that. They actually convert the dead ads to conversational ads. So if you go to an audio OTT platform, currently you will see this bunch of dead ads running saying that you're listening to music in the gym, it will come and say that download an application, click on a banner. That goes a bit redundant, you know. So with Instamatic's dialogue ad platform, you can actually have conversations with that. And then to top it up, we are having conversations. We are getting the audiences to have conversations with that, and we are landing them onto a voice skill. So the entire journey starts with an audio. A person is listening to music. The ad format comes in when he's having a seamless dialogue with a ad commercial which is playing in there, and the end result, which is the end destination, is actually a Google skill where the conversation continues. So those are the kind of solutions which we are building for the urban side of it. Obviously, skills in abundance, like Bangalore Police Commissioner has deployed a Corona-led skill right now on Alexa, which is the only skill perhaps in India which is currently live. And that gives you all FAQs around Corona and COVID. So that's one of my favorite around the current times. Then these are these bunch of smart assistant solutions which we are creating, which is information around Bollywood gossips, and you would say something around recipes, 21-day lockdown recipe challenge with the top chefs. Those are the kind of platforms and activities which we are building right now on the voice platform.
So Niraj, thanks for that. In a nutshell, so let's say you have two categories, right? You have brands who don't participate in the transaction, so
Yeah.
like the levers and the PNGs. Then you have those who do participate in a transaction, which could be the Swiggies of the world or the retailers of the world. If if I'm a retailer, can you tell me one or two interesting things could be exploring? When I'm saying a retailer, I doing a purchase sale transaction with a customer. Could you tell me where voice could be an interesting use?
Yeah, so we, as a company, we are working various verticals of our agencies as WPP. Some of them have created a sentiment analysis IVR platform, which kind of gets plugged
Okay.
into your call center support backup. You know, so when a person is calling in, through the sentiments or through the voice command, you can read whether the guy is getting angry, anxious, certain sentiments, and then the call gets redirected to a human. So bot to humor handover kind of a stuff. So that's one of the platform which we are building. Now on conversational commerce, we have also built a platform which is in-house platform which is being built by us. We're actually deploying it for a lot of our clients. But I won't say that's the need of the hour. That's something which we're not deploying it right now. But conversational commerce products is something we have already built on. We are now taking it extensively to a lot of clients as well.
Okay. This is a question I'm just going to open out to everyone. Uh, is there any relevant technology which allows a consumer to fill a shopping basket using voice? It's a question open to anyone. Is there tech
So,
out there which
uh,
allows?
so the closest which I can think of is Amazon Go. And we have a equivalent product in the Indian market. We call it retail shelf, and we demonstrated it one of our events as well at WPP Stream earlier last month. And that product is pretty much, you walk into a particular store, it scans your face, then you're picking up products. It auto scans that you picked up so many products, put it into the basket and walk off. It connects to UPI or Paytm and then gets a seamless transaction going. You can obviously have a voice layer to it, wherein you can seamlessly have a dialogue with the products which are being placed in the shelf as well. if you wish to know more about the products. But Akshay can add to it. I think he'll be the right guy.
I think in terms of the example, the nearest that you spoke of, Niraj, is really the one big example that's there.
Well, in fact, we are talking to a couple of customers as well. I mean, like McDonald's, for example. So we are trying to build an Alexa skill or a Google Assistant skill onto McDonald's, where people will be able to add, while they're driving, they want to order something. So that could be one of the use cases. So people will be able to order their food, and then it can be delivered to their preferred location. So, and then we are also in talks with Hungerbox. So we're doing pretty much the same thing for them as well.
The reason I'm asking all of you this is one of the key requirements coming out post-COVID, post-lockdown, is going to be the ability to enable brands and retailers to take orders and then do a remote delivery. So I just got off a conversation with my local retailer who's trying to enable it. And then my question is, hey, I don't know what you have. Do you want me to type out sabudana half kg? It's going to get like torturous. Hence, I was wondering if there is any cool lean tech sitting there, which a bunch of these guys can use. Okay, so that's something we solved for.
So I can just chime in. So we've done.
Sorry.
I mean, customized Indian.
Okay, Swami, I lost you there. Swami, are you there?
We lost you.
Yeah, I'm just checking if my audio is coming better without the video.
Yes, it is actually.
Perfect. And I was just giving a couple of cents on what we have done on our experience. So the voice commerce hadn't picked up till last year, but I think the change with COVID is that it actually might. So that's where I'm being more optimistic. We've worked with a few large quick serve restaurant and other, kind of delivery related brands in India. So as part of that, we had to handle whether it was address handling, where it's complicated words and names, or even menu items like sabudana kind of examples that you said, or chicken shawarma or whatever else it is. So the ability for voice to handle some of this is very good actually. And I do see coming out of this crisis and with more things going digital and voice commerce coming in, that it would happen, whether it's an in retail store experience, like I'm shopping for stuff and I'm looking for something and I say by voice and it tells me which aisle it's in, or the other examples like you spoke about where it's a remote order and remote delivery flow. I think the next wave of technology change in that would come, not because of the intent handling or the I'm ordering something, it puts it in a shopping basket, that can be solved. But I think the next wave will come when you solve merging intent handling and conversation handling with search. So if I said something and that's not readily available as an information, or if I'm openly saying like, I'm ordering pizza and I said, hey, I don't know, should it be a large or medium? We are 4 people. How can it go into a search flow, which might be outside of a conversation dialogue flow, or maybe even look for something on the online internet, come back and solve the rest of the conversation? I think that's the big opportunity ahead to actually make it meaningful for users to adopt it.
Got it. Thanks, Swami. So, Akshay, you of course wear a very large telecom hat. And as we were chatting yesterday, you're possibly in a unique advantage or a position to lay the railroads, so to speak, for a lot of these technologies to work. The way I've looked at telecom is I think there's been an evolution of voice and data. Now players like you are adding those new layers which go far beyond voice and data. So you, of course, been doing some kick-ass fun stuff. Now, do you believe that voice in itself is enough, or taking this conversation and really pushing the envelope with the abundance and access of data that we have? Do you think like this is like the electronic typewriter where we basically say, maybe we can skip that phase and we just head into a video layer? Or are there markets for both? Where are you on that?
Absolutely. I mean, so first of all, I mean, right up front, out of the gate, at Jio, we don't believe that we are a telecom. We clearly believe that we are a digital player. there is something very interesting. I'm in telecom since now 16, 17 years, and telecom was the original voice, right? And before this whole thing of Alexas and what have you came in, right? But since you mentioned about Geo or telecom as such, I think as you rightly said, it's the railroad laying and it's the scaling up of things, and that is where I believe that the opportunities are huge. I mean, first of all, right upfront, we believe that the scale up of voice technology is going to be much beyond the devices and much beyond, for example, even internet based technologies. For example, we are now deeply involved in creation of world's first video call bot. So it's not only a voice bot, but it has a video layer on top of that, which can be made available on a simple phone number, right? So you don't even need an app or anything, right? Now, why something like that is of importance? Like, for example, the example that you spoke of, that is there a way to take order, for example, right? Now, where is the scale for these kind of ordering? Today also, more people are ordering on a simple phone call to the nearest retailer than, say, for example, Amazon and Flipkart and everything put together, right? So just a back of the envelope number, there are about 50 million people world over who work in call center industry. That means there are about 5 billion helpline related phone calls, right, on a daily basis. So that kind of scale is completely different number compared to any of these voice bot numbers or Alexa scales, without sort of taking away anything from the technologies that are emerging. The scale that is there on the railroad, so to say, right? I mean, the older scale technology is massive, and any small change that we can do on that platform, the impact that it's going to have is massive. For example, one thing that we are doing is we are fast forwarding all our video bot work. So you would have seen that as soon as the COVID thing hit, call centers all over world got disrupted. In fact, there are US banks that could not actually service the customers because the call center was back in India and there was complete lockdown, right? Now, the bots at that point in time came in and they got scared. What we are doing at Jio is we are fast forwarding a technology where all these calls, the voice calls, can seamlessly get upgraded to video. That means you have upgraded the experience 10x. At the cost that is perhaps 1/10 of today's average call center cost, right? In US alone, the calls that are going to call centers and helpline are about 100 billion USD, right? World over, that market is far larger. Now, even a percentage or 2% of that market is far bigger than this entire industry of skills and everything put together. So we are focused on that. One thing, I mean, even though you didn't ask me this, there is a lot of audience that is, so you are generally seeing that, spends have frozen. So industry has frozen, right? As soon as COVID came in. I genuinely believe that this is the opportunity to do more and not less. We spoke yesterday, Upendra, about 2008, which was, a similar catastrophic event. And if you look at the winners of that time, it was really people that came out all guns blazing, that were doing more and who didn't freeze. I mean, practically all the startups that we cheer for today are creation of those times, right? Of course, there were other factors like money was cheap and employees for startups were easily available and things like that. But having said that, one point I want to leave with the audience is this is the time to do more rather than to do less.
Just to add, Upendra,
yes,
I think you're on mute. Yeah, so just to add to Akshay, in fact, I want to give you one of the experience that I had last week. I switched to a different telecom service provider last week. I mean, before this COVID, and then there was some minor problem of the documentation which had got deleted while sending the document to that particular team. And my SIM card said that it was not, inactive SIM card last week. So if I had the opportunity to go to a store and submit that document, I would have done that and things would have been sorted in just half an hour. Whereas now that the call centers are working remotely, I don't know if everybody has the access to all the systems. So to understand what the problem was, despite of trying so many times, I could understand what the problem was. It took 2 days. And then to resolve that particular problem took about another 3 days as well. So, well, I was thinking that if there was, I mean, if these institutions had created a bot, let's say, which is like Akshay said, 1/10 of cost of 1 month's operations of a call center. I'm talking about 10 to 20 lakhs to basically build, the AI bot, which is like a,
Pittance.
rounding off of a balance sheet error in the organization.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so
I mean, in
guys,
India alone, there are about 100,000 helplines, right? And if you just look at all call centers that are 1,000+ size in India, it's a massive opportunity. I mean, it's much bigger than anything else that you are looking at. Yeah.
So guys, we kind of just crossed the halfway. So I want to kind of put a few things out there. So one is, in any business, there are 2, 3 things. One is about engagement. The other is about
We can't hear you, Upendra.
Upendra, we're unable to hear you.
And the third is about acquiring customers, correct? My question to customer service. Can you hear me now?
We lost you.
Can you hear me now?
Now is better.
Can you hear me
Yes,
now?
it's better now. Yes.
Okay, fine. All right. So guys, what I was saying, we just kind of crossed halfway through the conversation. Now, essentially, any business is looking to do 3 things with consumers. One is its acquisition, sales. Second is its transaction. Third is its service, correct? We touched upon briefly about transactions and enabling retailers. We touched upon service. Do you see a method for brands to use voice for acquiring customers? Do you see this playing a part in adding to the sales funnel, either as an enablement tool from the sales guys or direct channels? Any experiences which anyone can share?
So Upendra, if I can come in,
Yes.
right out of the window, if you look at, telecom in India, the connections, Jio alone adds about 10 odd million, about 1 crore customers a month. And all other brands put together are about double that number, right? Now, this was all happening via some 20-30 million retailers. And suddenly, on one single day on 18th of March, all those people vanished, right? So now there is no retailer that is left. Now, we immediately got activated, even though, of course, there is regulatory involved and there are more things. But, what we said is that if the retailer on the ground is not there, then can we have a virtual retailer? And, so a missed call based process where, you just give a missed call, you get a SMS link back, you click on it, a video bot opens, a bot that directly talks to you. It tells you what all do you need to do to fill up that form. And with the use of machine vision technology, you don't even have to, sort of type in any field. You just go and, show your Aadhaar card, the QR code, the data gets auto-filled, your photographs get picked up. So that entire stack, we sort of are behind getting that ready. And we believe that, there is a before COVID world and there is a after COVID world. And a lot of processes will fundamentally change. Call centers, for example, have fundamentally changed because now the people are remotely working. Acquisitions also for most companies are going to fundamentally change. And that kind of process we are hoping to launch for all brands practically in next 15 to 30 days. That's the attempt. So that's one of the product that we are wanting to fast forward. So yeah, I think acquisition and customer care are 2 of the largest costs for any businesses, and those are the ones that can be first attacked in the coming situation.
So Naveen, in your interaction with brands, are you coming across conversations on saying, how can you help me in sales or processing the sales aspect of it, Naveen?
Yes, we do. We do come across. I mean, I want to give you with an example. There's a brand that we're working with for uh, 8 o'clock coffee. It's a Tata uh, brand, and they have a coffee called 8 o'clock coffee, which is in the US. So basically, in this Corona situation, what we're trying to do is we are trying to build a skill where people will be able to add their coffee onto the Amazon cart directly from the third-party skill, and they will be able to make the payment using Amazon Pay, etc. So predominantly for this COVID situation, we are working with a lot of brands to basically service the customer at the moment. Well, that could be. I mean, we have. If you want to give you one of the example. When we started with this company called United Healthcare Pare. It's an insurance TPA. A lot of their call center load was getting on. They were getting calls to basically fill up the claim forms. So, and people were not aware of what does CIN number mean, etc. So our team went there to sit with the call center uh, agents for a couple of days, and then we built a skill called Put Alexa on Hold, where Alexa will be able to basically assist uh, the end users in filling up the application form, and then they will be able to. You can ask Alexa to be on hold, and then you can resume the conversation.
I think one point there, Upendra, which I just sort of want to make is, this is, I mean, let's face it, this is recession-like situation all over again, and companies are going to look at, cost cuttings and, places where businesses can become more robust in their balance sheet, right? Two of the top costs in any business are going to be the cost of acquiring a customer and the cost of servicing the customer. And voice technologies are the best place today to automate those costs. In fact, in Jio, why Jio? I mean, this is something that's universal. We have a simple metrics of, how to identify opportunities for automation. Simple 2x2 metrics. On x-axis you have costs. So what are the highest cost item versus lowest cost item? You could look at percentage of cost in your profit and loss, or you could look at individually higher cost per unit cost on the x-axis. And imagine on your y-axis you have for every process the extent of standardization that exists, right? So you look at acquisition as a process or customer care as a process. 70, 80, 90% of those interactions within that every process are highly standardized. Therefore, so anything that is high on cost and anything that is high on standardization, and both acquisition as well as customer care are qualified, costs that qualify for that are the first candidates for the automation in general. And because voice technologies are now here and now, therefore voice technologies in particular, right? So I think as the world enters into recession and more and more brands will start looking at cost cutting opportunities. I think this is where for any developer brand, whether it's Agrahyah, whether it's GroupM or the work that we are doing, right? If we are ready with the technology, if we are ready with the product, you are going to hit the ball out of the park. But you got to be ready in time.
So Akshay, in short, is saying he's ready with the technology. GroupM needs to partner with him aggressively.
Absolutely. I am glad to be brokering these amazing sales relationships. So as you do an offline one, I'm going to open this out to Swami sitting in Singapore. So Swami, anything different which you are seeing in the geographies in which you're operating in?
So one of the observations we did from some work and study we did about 2 years ago. By study, I mean, as tech company, we deploy solutions and feed markets. So we fed voice bot solutions in markets like Philippines, Thailand, and Southeast Asian countries. and then studied that versus India, where we've done a lot of work with Alexa and the Google and the rest of the environment. India is more voice preferring, though we can say that Southeast Asia has language complexity and India has vernacular languages and language complexity. Indian audience on general are more voice adaptive or preferring to than Southeast Asia, to the extent that some of the platforms that we have launched, and actually with some of the larger telcos and large platforms for millions of SMEs, small business kind of environments, we do chat only or chat AI and chatbot centered implementations only in Southeast Asia. While going in India, we are looking at it as a voice first or a voice plus chat multimodal implementation. So that's just an observation that, from brands as well as end user behavior, we've seen that. The other, just in terms of ethnographic study that we've done, and some others that some of our partners have done as well, just to share it. So, those of you who have kids at home, currently with the lockdown, you probably have more time with the kids at home, and you're probably dependent on an Alexa or Google Home to entertain your kids, at least when you have some calls. Children tend to prefer these devices a lot more, and there's a lot of study that's going on even in terms of, how do you talk to this device? Should you be respectful? Can you just say, Alexa, do this, Alexa, do that? Is that the right genre of interaction? Which means these kids grow up into an age where they go on to a working world or somewhere else. And if there's a subordinate, are they going to be commanding without respect to that audience? So that's the extent to which we are looking at. And this is actually meaningful because that's the personal emotional connect that these devices and these mediums seem to have, especially in the Indian audience, but also globally. A very different study in Japan showed that women in Japan loved voice assistants the most. And the reason is very different and quite unique, because for the first time in their life, they probably felt like they could talk in a commanding voice and a human language voice would respond back to them, understanding what they said and following an instruction. And imagine that an entire, the entire female community not being able to experience that by and large means they adopt to this a lot. And then there's also enough studies going on about loneliness and about elder care with voice. And it'll be interesting also to look at studies on whether these voice assistant and the funny petty jokes that they said, and we said, hey, Alexa, all we use it for telling joke and fixing a timer. Is that really what people are using it for? And those jokes are so much more valuable when you're locked down right now. But as such, I think India as a community is very voice preferring, and segments of population like elder care, like women, like children have strong affiliation to this tech, and a brand that leverages that and focus on that channel is bound to win as we get out of this phase.
So, Swami, I love the insights about Japan. And if you realize, my first question to you was on empathy. Because when I was running a business, right, be it an insurance or bank, because sometimes what I would realize is a 1 minute in-person interaction could help you solve 10 other crappy interactions which could trigger off. Sometimes there are instances when a customer just wants to be heard. So my challenge for technology is on two dimensions. One is on empathy and the other is language. See, the reality is all of us are speaking English right now because that's a lingua franca. But our familiarity and our natural conversation is going to be a cocktail of different languages depending on what we are. So again, my question to you is, if there is a brand, if there is a retailer, someone managing a very large customer base, I know it's great to say, hey guys, let's automate it, let's put a bot. But when I run a P&L and a balance sheet, I know that sometimes that 1 minute call, which possibly costs you 20 rupees, saves you 10 other calls, interactions, and hundreds of man hours of resolution. So sometimes my perspective is, don't just look at the cost of that 1 unit of call, also see the resulting sparks that can trigger off. So it's not a very clue red and green. There are things and dimensions that you need to look at even when pitching the solution or when you consider adopting it. So that's my 2 bits. But Swami, one last one to you. Southeast Asia, one of the biggest challenges for most businesses have been the multiplicity of languages. So it's not that you can take one tech, put it in Philippines, move it to Indonesia, move it to Thailand, right? How are you able to scale the voice capability and depth? And is there any learnings that in India we can take? because there is a multiplicity of languages that we've got out here. So is there something in the Southeast and Far East which you're doing differently?
No, so I think you have the luxury in India of brands like Amazon and Google, which are obsessing over it. So you luckily have hence millions, if not billions of dollars flowing in for speech training. Potentially, and I don't know, Akshay, maybe companies like Jio and others also. Fundamentally, you need voice data and you need somebody who's going to say, I'm going to take the data and I'm going to be able to use it. So that's a luxury that Southeast Asia did not have because some of these are smaller economies. Until today, though there is both Amazon and Google launched in India, not enough or effort of launch of that has happened in Southeast Asian countries. And when we go into markets like Philippines, we have not Tagalog by Tagalish, which is like a Tagalog plus English and so on. So it becomes even more complicated, much like India as well. The three rules that I would say, I mean, the three things that we've done or what we'll continue to do. One is we try to work with local government related authorities. So in Singapore, for example, we work with the Singapore government and media. So IMDA organization and a few other larger organizations like that, which care for preserving the local lexicon, because fundamentally what you need is a data corpus. So if you are talking to a large enough nation in terms of deploying voice or voice automation at scale, at that volume, fundamentally you need a corpus to begin with. So you would want to work with somebody who has that kind of a capacity or a budget to handle that, which will normally, if it's not the Amazons and Googles of the world, be the government, which cares for that not VLA. So that's one piece. The second piece is, and to allude to also your point about empathy, don't put automation where you wouldn't put humans first. And I've been in front of some of the largest banks where they wanted to even do chatbots 3 years ago. And I said, do you have 3 years of chat transcripts between an agent and they didn't. So no point jumping to bots if you do not have that, because exactly as you said, we might lose empathy factors, emotional factors, or even many other attributes if we are not obsessing and looking at that piece of have you put humans in that channel and that medium and that exact interaction before you put bots in that medium of interaction. And last is like what I said earlier, cut down the use cases, think more startup, like, so really do what will be your minimum sellable product or experience. So what is that single use case or single thing that you want to obsess on and deliver, and obsess on that metric and its performance and then scale upwards. So I call it like the WeChat thing, right? Voice for your brand can become a super app or like a super experience doing 50 different things in a bank or an insurance or some other brand experience. But in day one, it has to do one thing. And WeChat today does everything for China. But in its first, 3-4 years, it did only one thing, which was consumer to consumer chat. But today, every business exists there. All campaigns run there. You and I can figure out where to meet for coffee, get a discount for it and pay for it and walk out and do everything, including transportation through that platform. But it didn't start that way. So starting at one thing and then scaling on top rather than boiling the ocean at day one, as I said earlier.
If I come in for...
Swami, I love that. Yeah. So Akshay, I'm going to move this to a rapid fire. We are heading into the last few minutes. And I'm going to open this out to each and every one of you. So if I'm in, let's say, a retail category, when I'm saying a retailer, that means I am doing a buy sell with the consumer. I could be a Swiggy, I could be an Ola, I could be a Vijay Sales, right? What are the top 3 things I should be doing in the context of voice? And guys, just make it very crisp. Just tell me, what are the top 3 things I should be considering? So Naveen, I'll start with you.
Yeah. So for example, if you are a banking customer, I mean, everybody is, I'm sure. Well, if you want to basically understand what your credit card balance is, when is the outstanding payment due?
So inquiries.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then utilities like booking a cab while you're doing something. Like let's say you're wearing your shoes and you want to book your cab. You don't want to open your phone and then book your cab and take about 5-10 minutes to do that, right? And then entertainment is the most, I mean, majority of the use cases around entertainment, like Hindi jokes is the most heard skills on Alexa, which we developed. So,
so the lighter stuff,
yes.
Lighter stuff. Got
yes.
it. Okay, Niraj.
I would say, see, BFSI. Yeah, so the BFSI, what we are seeing as one of the challenges which we have is this banking fraud, which can be completely eliminated using voice biometric, which is what Citibank has done. So you call on a number, you say my voice is my password. Next time when you move into the IVR, you don't need to give any TIN numbers, which leads to a lot of these fraudulent activities. You get a clean sheet into an IVR, you can seamlessly do your transactions. So biometric is one area which is going to boom in the Indian market in times to come. And that's another product area which we are working on very closely with a lot of these brands. Barring that, I think Naveen covered most of it in terms of how you can add a humor angle to the skills which you are creating, and to keep the audiences glued on to these platforms, because at a certain point, these BFSI platforms, they become very redundant. So my favorite case would be the Axis Bank Dyna bot, which Akshay has created. So the BFSI segment itself is so dead that when people go onto the site, there's all monotonous information. So if you create a video avatars of a celeb which are popping into from the application and engaging with you, that makes the consumer experience pretty interesting.
Got it.
So those are some of the areas which we can work on.
Sure. Akshay? Sorry, I cut you earlier, but
yeah. Two things. One is the 2x2 metrics I spoke about. If you do not have as an organization, you're in a descending order, your top 5 items that you want to attack right now, because the winter is coming in another 6 months time, right? So then I believe you are not doing justice to it. That's one. Second is some of the examples that you gave, and Niraj also spoke about industries like BFSI. I think look at your voice helplines. We don't look at voice helplines and voice bots in the same breath. But that technology has existed since now almost 8 to 10 quarters, right? If you're running a voice helpline, which practically all big service providers are running, and if you do not have a voice bot on top of that, and at Jio we are saying if you do not have a video bot on top of that, then you are really messing out, right? So these are the 2 things I will leave the audience with.
Awesome. Swami, your top 3, two or three?
The one that I would say is focus on acquisition, because voice cannot do everything, like for example detailed transactions, etc. So it's a bleeding edge or a new technology, so let's not try to change behavior. So for example, can I do some simple quizzes, campaign skills that open up a new customer acquisition and voice, but do the completion of that through other channel? A native Alexa or a Google a person might want the entire experience to happen within the channel. I'm neutral, so I don't think it should. I think what they should do is what they do best. I mean, that platform, and then you take the customer from there off and you own it in whatever else channel. The second I would say is don't get confused with voice bots the way chatbots are, or put it in the same bucket. So when you think voice, go back to thinking radio. We have consumed content in voice medium for decades. So the best way to think of how a brand can leverage voice is going all the way back and thinking content first, and think radio world, and rather than like kind of bots and automation when you think of voice design.
Exactly. And the advantage of voice here is that voice bots understands the intent, unlike the chatbots. So which basically makes you write what it is looking for.
Okay.
I go a step further. I mean, text bots don't even count in a country like India, because beyond top 5%, nobody is chatting in Hindi, right, or vernacular. So voice is the only technology that can compete in the 95% of the market, right? Text bot is only the top 5%.
Correct. So guys, we've pretty much maxed out on our time. Niraj, sorry, just a moment. One is we just extend this by a few minutes because it's really hotting up, getting quite nice and spicy. Second is there are a couple of questions which have come in from the people who logged in. So Niraj, if you don't mind, there is a question from one of the members of the audience. So Sandeep is asking about how do you see the future of adoption of voice technologies in education? Anyone would like to go for it?
If I can take this.
Yes, would love to.
Yeah, I think this is a classic question for the kind of solutions which we have built on voice in the past. I'll just give you a couple of them. We've created this Pathshala on IVR. So there's an IVR module which we created which completely runs on speech, wherein a rural villager, if he wants to learn English, would call on a number and we'll teach him small statements. So the IVR would start something like this: Suprabhat ko English mein kehte hain good morning, beep ke baad aap bole good morning. So the guy goes in after the beep, says good morning with a diction and stuff. And the server ranks him using the classic nuance technology. Server is going to rank him saying that you got it with a 60%, 70% accuracy, and we build in a complete story. So that's the module which we created. Then we went on to create a platform for Colgate wherein we partnered with Byju's. So Byju's was sitting on all these smartphone-led content, Shah Rukh Khan coming, talking about content, stuff like that. We went to Byju's and we said, why don't we get all your content ported onto voice and we create a platform out of it. So we burnt almost like 120 million SKUs across Colgate, pasted the numbers across. We asked people to buy the packs, open the pack, give a missed call, and enter the code. The moment they enter the code, the 4 to 12 standard tutorial gets invoked. So people can learn. It's a CSR initiative. It's going to fund the entire project because the sales linked one as well. So the brand is actually going to get money out of it, put it back onto the maintenance of the platform. And right now, for a lot of our foundation students who are missing out on the key learning platforms, we are actually reloading a lot of these e-learning platform on voice. We already have all the curriculum which is ready with us. We are putting all the curriculum like the way we did Byju's onto voice, and we are loading it up on a number where people can call up and get access to all the content. We are taking it to another step by our audio conferencing bridge. We call it M Samvad, which has got a capacity of getting 25,000 people live on a live panel. And you can have a teacher who can actually take questions after the modules are being seeked by the students. Every Monday morning, they can come on a live platform. Teachers can be address questions by a bunch of students, and teachers can actually answer back on a live conference bridge. So those are the kind of platforms and initiatives which we have taken as a company on the education lines using voice.
Okay, so Niraj, great, phenomenal sales call. I think you sold us around 10 products in the last 90 seconds. So if you make some money on this, you should give us all some sales incentives. What's that, Akshay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Akshay is going to deliver it for me. So this question should go to Akshay.
I'm very happy to service everyone.
Okay, so Naveen, I think we need to head towards the end of the discussion. So my last one on this, and I want a quick raise of hands since we are on video. Okay. How many of you believe that video is going to far overtake voice in the context of transaction?
In any context. You have seen this story playing time and again. Video is greater than voice, no questions asked.
Okay. Niraj, video?
Voice.
Swami? Acha, Niraj, voice. Swami?
Voice. We haven't even scratched that. And video is in the car.
Yeah, so I will agree that it's early years for video.
Sure. Okay, I'm going to be biased because I need to. Sure, I'm going to be biased because I need to have a bath and have a shave whenever I get into video. So I think I'll prefer voice. But the reason I'm saying it is I don't think it's going to be about which is going to be greater. I think the reality is whatever solves for a consumer need in an empathetic manner is going to have a contextual relevance. The other thing which I hear, I think all of you saying is, it's not about saying voice or video.
Yeah,
it's like everything in life. Everything has a certain meaning in a certain context. So I don't think we need to
on that note,
on
that note, I have a 10-second product plug. So you're absolutely right. When Jio sells today, our video bot solution, we never make the customer, go for this choice. We say it's video plus voice plus text, all three bots put together. So it's a 3-in-1 bot that we offer. So the customer enterprise should not be made to make a choice, saying you choose this or that. It's not this or that. It's this and that.
So correct. So I think extremely important. We all make this in our PowerPoint presentations, and then it gets tossed out and we never see it again. The consumer has got to be the center of it, or your employee has to be the center of it, and build it from there. Let's not let go of the reality and the empathy of it. Things will evolve, things will take time. There is an adoption curve. What I'm also going to do is I'm very quickly going to summarize some salient points for all of us as a takeaway. And this is going to be a little biased with my learnings. I've learned a lot from all of you today. So what I picked up from Swami is if you're heading into the arena of voice bots and voice related automation and technology, make sure there is some historical context. Else, the second thing which I really loved is if a human can't do it and if a human hasn't done it, watch out before you get a tech to do it. Figure it out and then slowly get there. And I love that. Akshay, I love the way that you're approaching video. You have a great platform view, and I think there's a bunch of stuff which a digital company like yours can offer. And the reason I'm emphasizing on digital is I think for a lot of us marketeers and technologists, we also have our perceptions about the players and the people around us. So the evolution that itself is a huge mindset change. That a conversation with a company like Geo is no more about saying you're a telephony telecom company.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm saying it is it changes the starting point with which we look at partnering things. Some of our perceptions, biases, mindsets itself can tend to be a challenge in some of these conversations. Niraj, great set of stuff, amazing sales calls. No, jokes apart, I think you gave a phenomenal variety of things which both brands and retailers can be looking at. Really exciting stuff. And it's great to see agencies pushing the envelope and really getting much closer to the problem and the opportunity. So great stuff. Naveen, what I loved is the simplicity of the things. Not everything means I need to invest a supercomputer. Not everything means I need to break the bank. There are small things that can be done. And so those were some of my key takeaways. So had a wonderful time. Learned a lot from each and every one of you. Look forward to jamming. And on a different note, there are quite a few tequila shots which are going to be going around basis this conversation. For those of you who weren't there a part of this, sorry you missed out on a bunch of tequilas. But I have a feeling Niraj is going to be running the pack on the tequila shots. And then there's going to be a long
I'm a
tail amongst
teetotaler.
her.
If
Sorry?
you, for your information, I'm a teetotaler. I don't smoke, don't drink at all.
I'm
Looks
very happy
absolutely.
for you. So we can take your quota. There are enough thirsty palates on the other side.
Good one.
All right. So thanks a ton, guys. Wonderful time. Great chatting with you. Be safe and let's excite customers. God bless. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you
Cheers.
very much. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
guys.
Thank you. I hope this was good for the audiences.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for logging in. Take care. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye.